What's up, guys? Welcome to MLB Takeline, and today we are going to be doing tier lists for all the MLB teams. We're going to be putting them into tiers, but they're going to be based on their chances to make the postseason. So I'm really excited to make this list because you have to take into consideration where they currently are in the standings and what you expect for them moving forward to make their postseason chance. So there's going to be a bunch of tiers. We're going to do the teams that are definitely in the postseason, teams that are likely in the postseason, teams that have around a 50-50 shot, teams that probably not, but they do have some hope, teams that is just simply too late for them, and then teams that are just the worst teams in this league. So let's get it all started. Follow me on Instagram at MLB Takeline. I did make a post on these, but if you already saw that, I will be explaining them in this video. All right, let's get it started. Top tier, teams that are definitely making the postseason. The Los Angeles Dodgers. They may be in second place right now behind the Giants, but there's no doubt that the Dodgers should be looked at as the best team in baseball. They were seen as one of the greatest teams of all time going into the season, overwhelming best team in baseball going in. Hasn't played out like that. It's not going to be some super easy title, but I do still see LA as the favorites, just as the odds makers do. They're too much talent. Padres are also in this tier because the Padres were seen as a definite top 3 team going into the season, and they've hit some bumpy roads at times. They're currently playing some better baseball. Blake Snell has a high ERA. He's gotten pretty unlucky, so he will start to make more of a contribution for that team. Tatis has obviously been amazing, lived up to all of it. You love to see it. The other team I have in that tier is the Houston Astros. Houston was seen as probably a top 10 team going into the season. They were a top 10 team going into the season. Where did I rank them? Number 7. But they have been the best team in the American League, and though they're only about a half game above the Red Sox right now, the Astros seem like the definite favorites in the American League. Now, there's not enough proven talent in their rotation to say that they're definitely making the World Series and stuff, but they probably will go in as the favorite, and they're definitely the favorite to claim the top seed from this regular season. Their offense has been so amazing. It's been back to being what it always used to be. They have 4 hitters with an OPS over 900, with Altuve just behind that as well. Tucker's also in the 800s, and Bregman hasn't even clicked on all cylinders yet, so there is reason that they could maintain this, because if someone slows down, you could get Bregman to be better, because Gurriel, Correa, Alvarez and Brantley, they've all been terrific. All right, next tier, teams that are likely going to the postseason, but it's not a definite. We got first the New York Mets. Now, these are not in too much of an order. Maybe I put them in a little bit of an order, but don't make too much of the order, within the tier. Don't make too much of the order that they're in within the tier. The New York Mets they're very much going to get in through the NL East Division title if they do get in, and that's the likely case. I mean, it's going to be tough. They got a clutch win in Atlanta last night. That could have brought the Braves within 4 games. Now I believe the Mets are up 6, which is a lot. And the Braves are definitely the strongest contender, I would say, even though the Nationals, there is a case for the Nationals because they've been playing much better, and I believe they just got over 500 for the first time, which is cool. The Phillies, you obviously can't trust the Phillies, and the Marlins have played way better than the record suggests, but they're too far back, so the Mets are likely winning that division. You obviously have Jacob deGrom. That makes for a lot of excitement if you go into a postseason series. You go to the NLDS against the NL Central winner Mets, you got Jacob deGrom on the bump for Game 1. You don't know who's going to have home field in that series, but either way, you get Jacob deGrom in Game 1, and if necessary, you got Jacob deGrom for Game 5. You guys are looking great in that division series, and then you'll probably run into whichever team gets the furthest from the NL West in the NLCS if you're the Mets. The Mets likely in the postseason, but they do have to lock up the division first. Next up, we got the Milwaukee Brewers, who have taken quite the stranglehold on the NL Central. Obviously, plenty of time for the Cubs still, even though the Cubs really fallen back. The Brewers have won the first 2 games of their series versus the Cubs. I made a post also. The Brewers are 40-38 against the Cubs since this became a rivalry back in 2017, which is obviously very evenly matched. The Cubs actually won the season series in 17 and 18, but the Brewers have won it in 19 and 20. and leading in 21. But yeah, the Brewers should be all right. It's just that you have the Cubs, and then you have the Cardinals and the Reds, who also, does one of them have a run in them? You don't know. Next up, it's the Giants. The Giants have been the best team in baseball so far this season, record-wise, which is absolutely incredible. The Giants are definitely my second favorite team in baseball. It's definitely been the top thing for me this MLB season. It's just been like almost a dream to see the San Francisco Giants where they are after dealing with like mediocrity to slightly below mediocrity for a few years. Should you like still all your old veterans, but it's just been incredible. It's not like it was incredible in 2019 when their veterans were getting them into the playoff race, those former World Series dudes, and now it's happening in 2021. Obviously, they have some help like from the rotation. It's not the old veteran World Series champions, but you got Belt, Crawford, and Posey doing it. It's amazing to see. You got Desclafani and Gosman in the rotation. Man, I am so excited. The Giants better get a home playoff game, man. That's all I'm saying. Next up, we got the Chicago White Sox, who are... They would be fourth in line for that, definitely in postseason tier if I had put them there. I'm going to say likely in postseason just because they are only ahead of Cleveland by 2 games in the division, but they should be absolutely fine to win that division. Chicago White Sox should definitely be in the ALDS. Boston Red Sox are also in the likely and postseason tier. They have become the favorites in the American League East. Tampa Bay has been playing bad, and their roster has been falling apart. Glass now, obviously done. Already didn't have Morton and Snell, so man, the 2020 Rays, 2019 Rays, such a pitching rotation team. Obviously, their bullpen too, and it's been amazing. They have so many arms out in that bullpen that have had such great ERAs. They've been managing to do that again, which they've been a top 5 pitching team overall because of it. But that rotation has to concern you a bit. Rich Hill, the 41-year-old, has a 3.52 ERA, and while I did think people were sleeping on him coming into the season, you can't deny that you question whether he could continue being that good. Why am I talking so much about Tampa? Dang. Boston, man. 6-0 versus the Yankees. Boston Red Sox are more likely than not heading to the playoffs. They're the favorites in the division, and they definitely do have a potential to have a good enough record for the wild card if they slip out of the division race. All right, these are the 4 teams 9 through 12, that have around a 50-50 shot to get into this year's playoffs, starting with the Oakland Athletics. The Oakland Athletics have had easily a top 10 record in baseball so far this season. In fact, playing with the top 5, it's just that they haven't played that well lately, and it's honestly not all that of a shocker because their run differential has been eye-openingly not great for how good of a record they've possessed. And they just, as much, I was so high on the A's coming in. I ranked them number 8, and I almost had them winning the division over the Astros. Thank goodness I didn't. But wow, the A's, I had them at 8, and other people were just putting them so stinking low, and it was absurd, really. But I'm happy I put them at 8 because it does seem like the right spot for them. Maybe they'll slip a little lower, but honestly, 8 seems pretty good. But there's just a lot of competition that they're going to have to deal with in the AL, starting with the Yankees. The Yankees are also in this tier. Yankees have obviously had one of the most disappointing seasons in baseball history, but because, look, this is a top 3 talent roster heading into the year. Based on what we like to base stuff on, which is about the past 3 years or so, the Yankees should be top 3, but everyone's underperforming in the offense. It was nice they scored a season-high 11 runs last night, which it is crazy to think that that's their season-high 11. Like, jeez. But Yankees, I have them around 50-50 shots still. I think that this roster is just so talented to the point that it's going to be close. I'm not saying that they're definitely getting in, but I'm saying that I do think that they'll be panicking all September. That includes myself. I'm a Yankees fan, and the thought of like not making it into the postseason is just one of the worst thoughts you could have. It really makes you want to vomit. All right, Tampa Bay is in this tier. We already talked a lot about Tampa Bay, and they have a good record. They're still right near the Red Sox, but it's crazy to say. I've put a lot of faith in the Red Sox than I did like after April when they were right with the best records in baseball. I didn't put that much faith in them, but now here they are, still top 5 record, heading into July. I actually have faith in that team. Like, they're probably going to the playoffs. The Rays, though, like I already talked about, it's going to be a battle. Blue Jays, I also have in this tier. The Blue Jays were thought of as right with the Rays going into this season and have been significantly behind them, but I feel like from this point on, the Blue Jays will have a better record than the Rays, and they are coming from behind. The Blue Jays, obviously, their pitching front is kind of their weakness. Not kind of, it is their weakness. Can they do enough pitching? Because we know that offense. Simeon has actually been a pleasant surprise. He's been better than you would project offensively. And then you got, obviously, Springer being healthy. Like, if he could rack up a nice second half, that would be so huge. Then you obviously got your guys, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. taking that step to be the best hitter in baseball suddenly. Bo Bichette, I think he could be a bit better than he has been. He's been a pretty solid player, but I think he could be better. I was the one saying that he's like, he could be close to a Tatis-type player, but he hasn't been anywhere close to Tatis, unfortunately. And I love Tatis, by the way, but Bo Bichette, I love him too. Nice long hair, swagger, shortstops. Blue Jays have a chance to make the postseason. All right, these are the teams that it's unlikely to make the postseason, but they do have hope still. This is the longest tier, by the way. I have like 8 teams in this tier. We got the Seattle Mariners, who are above 500 somehow. I just don't see it happening for the Mariners, but hey, man, their fan base usually doesn't have any hope. This year, I guess they have a little bit of hope because you're literally above 500, which is just crazy. And you have those young prospects that were called up. Man, the Mariners, the AL has no, like, insanely good team, but it's tough for a team like the Mariners because the American League runs with legitimately good teams, like 6 or 7 deep. So it's just probably too tough for Seattle. I got Washington in this tier because Washington, they're competing in that NL East with the Mets, but it's very unlikely that'll happen. And for a team like that, the wild card is not a fallback because of the fact that literally the third place team is already 15 games above 500 in the NL West, so it's going to be the 2 West teams going at it in the wild card. Same situation with Philly. I have them in the unlikely but have some hope. So much offensive talent. The hope doesn't really come from keeping the same roster. Their hope comes from getting 3 legitimate good bullpen arms. Like, I don't understand why they don't do it, because bullpen arms, I know that that's like a big upgrade, so it's not like, oh, so easy, but bullpen arms are just so much cheaper than starting rotation arms and bats. But for the Phillies, like, a reliever is almost as valuable as a bat, which you would rarely say, but for Philly you would say, because they're losing all their games like that, man. It's crazy to see another below 500 season so far in Philly. 4th place, I don't know, they could turn it around and get better than 4th place, but in terms of catching them, that's very unlikely. All right, Braves are also in this tier. Braves, you would probably say, have a better shot than the Phillies, maybe a better shot than the Nationals, just because of the talent that they have, but their rotation has fallen apart because of the fact that, Morton and Anderson have been fine, but Fried has been pretty disappointing in battling injury. And then, of course, Soroka, his return just didn't happen. You hate to see it. Soroka went down again. He's out for another year. You got the Cincinnati Reds in this tier because 2 of the best 5 hitters in baseball this year have come from that team with Castellanos and Winker. They better both be starting in the outfield, corner outfield spots. You love to see it. They're chasing down the Brewers, and I was like, don't underrate how firmly they're in contention for that division, but the Brewers have just been like playing really good. It might be hard for a team to catch Milwaukee. The Cardinals also in the same boat as the Reds. The Cardinals have been suffering with the loss of Jack Flaherty, but that's one pitcher. Cardinals have been a below 500 team. They just lost the series at home to the Pirates. That just can't happen. They are the Cardinals. You never want to count them completely out, especially in a division without an elite team. But they're just nothing special about them that says postseason. Then you got Chicago Cubs. The Cubbies were firmly in the mix with the Brewers. Like, it was kind of switching between those two, both around 10 over, but now the Brewers are about 14 over. Cubs have slipped all the way to the point that they're only 4 over. They've really been struggling lately. But the Cubs, you got some slight hope going in the second half. And the last team in this tier is the Cleveland Indians. Now, If you're an Indians fan, you might want me to put them in the around 50-50 shop. Here's the reality. This team is 9 games over 500, but there's just nothing that tells me that they're more than an average team. Now, I think they could play average from the rest of the way because that's what they are, average. They've put themselves in a nice spot from a record standpoint, to the point that if they just take off and just get hot, maybe they could sneak in, but it's just very unlikely to me. I feel like they're going to finish about 10 games over 500 and come up short of a playoff spot. All right, next here, teams that it's just too late for them this year. We got 4 teams. The Los Angeles Angels are one of them. Obviously, Ohtani's, if he could, even if he declines a little bit in the second half, the man is still going to win the MVP. He's been that good on both sides of the ball, literally a 2.58 ERA, along with being first in home runs in the game, man. I know that there was hype around him when he came over in 2018, and it was weird because it was kind of going a little underwhelming for the first, 3 years. 2018 was fine, but then 2019 and 20, his name wasn't talked about all that much. But then his 4th year is his breakout year. He's only 26, so it is exciting that he's not 29. He's 26. You're going to see this for a long time to come. You'll love to see it. Hopefully he doesn't need Tommy John surgery or anything to mess up his great 2-way career. Tonight at Yankee Stadium, he may be in the lineup along with starting on the mound in the Bronx. But Mike Trout's injury has been a killer, and it's not the fact that this team can't go on a run, and they've been a good offensive team, but they've been bottom 5 however you slice it in terms of pitching. They just don't have it on that side of the ball, and that's with Ohtani's big breakout on the mound. Angels, man, just too late. 3 games under 500, and just too late to catch, obviously, the Astros, and then the AL wildcard. Like I'm saying, the AL wildcard is probably going to take around 92 or so wins to get into this year, perhaps even a little more. The AL has a bunch of good teams. Next up, we got the Kansas City Royals, who have had such a weird season. I saw something where, man, I don't remember the record, but they were so good to start. They're among the best teams in baseball in late April, and then they went on a 3-12 streak or something. Then they went on another really good run, and then they went on a 2-13 stretch or something. Man, this team obviously not making the playoffs. It's just too late for them, but I didn't put them in the bottom feeders tier because of the fact that KC is just not an absolutely horrendous team. They're just not. Next, we have Minnesota. This team is the definition of just too late. A lot of talent. I ranked them up at number 6 coming into the season. But Minnesota, man, horrendous start. They've played a bit better than 500 baseball over the past 2 months, if you didn't know that. Because they're not a bad team. They're probably a pretty solid baseball team, but when you're 10 under at the midway point, it's too late for you to make the playoffs, like I said, in a tough AL. Next up, we got the Marlins, because the Marlins have a plus run differential, and you got to be excited for the 2022 Marlins. You just got to be. But in terms of 2021, no way. All right, now we got 6 teams in the bottom feeders here. I don't like to talk about them very much. We got the Baltimore Orioles, the Detroit Tigers, the Texas Rangers, the Pittsburgh Pirates, the Colorado Rockies, and the Arizona Diamondbacks. These teams have a long way to go. It would be a shock if any of these teams made the 2022 postseason. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate that. Hope you enjoyed my rambling on about baseball. You know what I'm saying? If you want more of it, make sure you leave a thumbs up. Follow the Instagram at MLB Takeline. I don't know. I'm just going to be doing a lot of concept videos as I talk about this 2021 MLB season.